Good late evening. It is Saturday, August 31st at 10:31 p.m. Your Purdue Boilermakers, your football Boilermakers are 1-0. It's late. This is a late wrap-up, obviously, because we spent a little extra time on campus and spent a little time with LBD, his little sister, TBD. Got to take a tour of the palatial estates and the Honors College, and it was a good day overall. I don't know if you heard this. Purdue won. I bet you did. If you're tuning in to this, I bet you did. And it's a fun day. Before we get too far in, I want to do two things. First one, before I had a great time. To me, that was a super fun day, obviously. But before I get too excited, but I just want to remind everybody, first off, obviously Indiana State's lower division team, and last year they were 1-10. There were a lot of things they need to get better at. I'm not so sure based on what I saw that they got much better, but one thing I did see is Purdue was in full command on offense and defense. I'm going to talk about Hudson Card's extremely efficient big day, and I'm going to talk about other things. But first, before I do that, let me thank our friends at Martin Vintage. Not Martin Vintage, how about that? I'm wearing a Martin Vintage shirt. Let me thank our friends from this year's sponsorship and last year's Home Field Apparel. Head over to homefieldapparel.com. Martin Vintage, nice people. Homefieldapparel.com. Enter Boiled 25. I'm the best in the business. Enter Boiled 25 and get 15% off. Check out their platinum packs. Check out their coaches jackets. Check out some of the really cool retro hats. Some of the script stuff they've got. It's a great collection, and I hope you can find something. Darn nabbit, that was awful. And also, when you're on campus, do what I didn't get to do today. I'm 0 for 2. And head over to AJ's. I didn't get to do it today because of logistics. That's the hardest thing every time for me. Park car one place, got to figure out. Tried to get over to AJ's, didn't get there today. But head towards the fire station and then go in there and have some pretzel bites, have some mac and cheese bites. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy the air conditioning in a day like today, and you'll get the best darn service on campus. Our friends Adam and Jake, eatajs.com, burgers, beef, beer. That's AJ's. And I did say the correct company, which is great. I apologize to our pals at Home Field Apparel. Mercy. Let's dive into football, why don't we? So I'm going to try to do this like I did the basketball. I'll give you my gut feeling. I'm still getting over how much of a moron I am. I'm going to tell you about my gut feeling, what I saw, things that I took note of before I dig into the stats, and then maybe a little reaction. It's an unusual time to do a post-game wrap, hours and hours. Let's see, game ended at probably, I'm guessing 3:30. And it's 10:30 right now. So, yeah, if there's anybody here watching live, I see there's a couple of you. I appreciate it. And if you're listening on delay on Believe Network or watching on delay on YouTube, thank you for doing so. Thank you for being here. Thank you for making this part of your postseason or post-game, your ritual on game days. It was a fun day. It was a fun day in God's country. Gosh darn it. Fun day in God's country. It was hot. If you weren't there, you missed a good time. If you were there, I might have saw you. I got to catch up with a lot of people that enjoy watching BS content. Really appreciate that. Always makes it more real. One of the cool things was talking to a couple of the boys from Boiler Express podcast. That was really cool. I just had a great time seeing everybody, and I got to see Ben Kolodzinski as well. These the people that you spend time with on the internet are real people. That's the real cool thing. We talked about this idea that you kind of develop real friendships virtually. It's one of the best things about this era, and we've done a lot of that over the last few years. So it's great, big fun. And football games, especially when it's a crowded Ross-Ade Stadium, there's lots of opportunity to meet people and see people again and have reunions. I said this during basketball. It's one of the best things, just one of the best things about the games, these mini reunions that are happening all the time. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about what I saw at the game. Like I said, it was blazingly hot. I don't know if you can see how sunburnt I am. I had a hat on, and there's a pretty clear mark underneath my glasses where the sun hit me and where the sun was blocked, which is a good thing for me when you're as follically challenged as I am to wear a hat. And I suggest you do the same if you are in the same position on top of your head. But here's one of the things that I thought was cool. 49-0 Purdue wins. They've improved to 1-0 on the season. 7 different Purdue players scored touchdowns. And before I dig into details of stats, I think that is maybe the coolest stat on the offensive side. Or maybe this other one is pretty cool. Hudson Card completes 96% of his passes thrown. He went, I think, 24 for 25. I'm not positive about that, although I will check on that here in a second. The 96%, though, the reason I know that one is true is it was on Twitter, a couple different places, and if it's on Twitter, it's obviously true. That's a joke. But it's an NCAA record. I believe it tied an NCAA record. There's one other person who's done that all time, who has thrown 20 or more passes and completed 96% of those passes. That's pretty special. It's pretty awesome. If you're an old guy like me, you remember some pretty good quarterbacks playing at Purdue, including Drew Brees. And Drew Brees never completed 96% of his passes. He did play some patsies too. Played some teams that were lower division. Never did that. The thing that I thought was great to see was the amount of command that Card had over the offense. I don't think Purdue showed a whole bunch offensively. I don't think they were keeping it completely vanilla, but what I saw is a lot of reads by Card, by Max Clare, by the tight ends in general, finding the space in a zone. Indiana State zone was not great. I think that's one thing that if you watch a lot of football, you could see there was space. There were a couple times where Purdue needed big yardage, and then it was generally Max Clare who would go sit down or find the space in the zone, and Card would just put the ball on the numbers. Really impressive stuff. Max Card had a big day. He had a big day, and Max Clare. Gosh darn it again. Okay, Max Clare had a big day, and Purdue's offense had a big day in general. Purdue's defense was simply dominant. It felt a bit quite early like Indiana State was just trying to get out of there without getting hurt. It just felt like they're not going to throw a lot of passes. I think deep into the game they had only thrown 8. I don't know how many they ended up throwing, but it wasn't an aggressive offense. It wasn't an opportunistic offense, and it was not a great offense. One thing that was really striking in person, and it may have been just as striking on TV, Purdue's size. I knew it would be different since they were playing a lower division foe. But there are guys, and I've been talking about this all summer, there are guys all over the field on Purdue's team that are man-sized, just big dudes. Seeing Jamal Edrin is pretty noteworthy. It's a big NFL possession receiver body. Terrian Grant, Terrian Grant is what he was advertised to be. He is a really good-sized cornerback. He laid the wood on a play that was pretty impressive. He was pretty aggressive at times, but he, along with some other freshmen, made a lot of impact. Wide receiver Rigby was he was also very good. They both wear, I believe, or is it? I can check on this in a second. But Rigby is another guy. I said it. He was 6'5". A couple casts ago, you guys said I was wrong. You were right. He's 6'3". He's a big 6'3". He's a true freshman. He's good. And not only those two true freshmen make impact, tons and tons of the transfers that we thought would be good did making impact, but a couple that didn't. And here's one of the things that's really promising to me about this game is the fact that there's still a lot in the tank. First, from a play calling standpoint, I think there's a lot in the tank because I think there were a lot of just reads happening. Hudson Card was making brilliant reads. Like I said, he one incompletion and one pass overthrown early in the game in the second quarter, I think. And he only played, 2.5 quarters? And in spelling him, Ryan Brown came in, so he played a quarter and a half, made a lot of really good decisions. I think he completed 60% of his passes, something along those lines. I'll double check that here in a second. But he just looked smart and poised as well. Made some good runs. I got to talk to Ryan Brown after the game, which is really cool. and I got to hang out in a place where Ryan Brown hangs out, which was fun. He is a place not too far from the stadium that he hangs out, and I asked him. I said, "Did you take any hits that I'd missed that you're going to feel tomorrow or that were memorable?" And he said, "No, not really. It wasn't too bad." But he did take one down the stretch. I haven't watched the entire game a second time, but I did watch the first quarter almost in its entirety, and a second time. And what I saw is exactly what I thought I saw, what I saw the first time. One thing I need to go back and look is watch those running backs again. Purdue's running backs, especially, it went 4 deep today, really showed a lot of speed. Again, you're playing a team that does not have a lot of speed and a lot of size. But man, the guys that are supposed to be fast and the guys that are supposed to be strong and the guys that are supposed to be able to make plays today made plays. And that's just refreshing. That's good. Tight ends were a huge part of the offense. Tight ends also, I think I'll talk about that in a second. At least one tight end. And some of the biggest mistakes of the day, there weren't a lot of mistakes out there. There was one drive specifically where the officials really interceded themselves a ridiculous amount, and I think they were really incorrect. It felt crappy, felt lousy, felt like there was an agenda almost. And I'll go back and watch that and see if the officials were correct or they were just nitpicky. And I think Purdue had 3 or 4 penalties in one drive, if I'm remembering correctly. And they were difference makers. Purdue, I think, in that drive, drove all the way down the field with some pretty pinpoint passes, but then they were taken all the way back at one point. I think it was 2nd or 3rd and 20 something because of holds, because of other things. Purdue had a really extremely, on the other side of the ball, extremely questionable roughing the passer called. I can't remember who had the penalty called, but the officiating crew, I mean, my gosh, this is what it is going to be forever, obviously. The college football officials, I don't know if these were Big Ten officials. I kind of assume they were because they sucked so hard. But mercy. I think there's going to be mistakes in the first game. I think the coaches, I hope they go after the team and say, got to clean this stuff up. But also, it was completely uneven and it was absurd for about a quarter. And if you didn't notice it, if you don't agree, that's fine. You can leave something in the comments, but I don't think I'm going to prove myself incorrect when I watch this one a second time. All right, I'm going to dive into the stats now. Let's look at this. So Max Clare led all receivers with 5 receptions, 71 yards. I think everything that was thrown his way, he caught. Jamal Edrin had 4 receptions, 59 yards. Leland Smith made his entry, 2 receptions, 47 yards. I think, yeah, so here's the cool thing. Max Clare had a touchdown. Smith had a touchdown. Jerron Tibbs was 4th in production, 30 yards and a touchdown. Denylon Morissette had a big touchdown, 2 catches. Jaden Dixon-Veal, a little bit quiet, two receptions, 23 yards. And then you go down the list, Sawinski, Watson, Rigby, Maccabee, and Burren all had a reception. And then up the running backs, they also played pretty damn well. You had Elijah Jackson had that huge run towards the end of the game, 69-yard run. He ripped it. It was right up the middle, and he just used his speed. If you don't know, Elijah Jackson is track fast as well. I think he was Indiana state champ in the 100-meter 2 years ago. He's a redshirt freshman. Reggie Love, the Illinois former Illinois player, Purdue transfer, had 7 rushes, 54 yards, and a touchdown. Jaheim Merriweather, also 3rd-string running back, had a touchdown. And Ryan Brown had 3 rushes for 10 yards. But you got Maccabee, led everybody, 11 rushes, 89 yards, 8.1 a pop. And one thing I noticed, maybe you noticed it too, is Maccabee's ability to make something out of nothing continues to amaze me. And his unorthodox running style, no matter how much I watch the guy, is so entertaining. The way his legs are going all directions, it's just tons of fun. And he looked great. He does look bigger and stronger to the naked eye without watching too much of the game on tape. And a lot of improvement. Again, Kiro Small, the strength coach, has earned his money. This team looks big, looks strong, looks physical. We'll see how big and strong and physical they look versus a really, really good Notre Dame team, supposedly. Although Notre Dame, when I last checked a minute ago, they were struggling versus Texas A&M. If you didn't know, Nick Scorton left the game with a potential knee injury. It looks like I don't think there was any knee ligament damage, according to on-field tests. But former Boilermaker Texas A&M player got hurt, was taken out of the game versus Notre Dame. So, okay, let's go over some other stats. Like I said, Will Helt had, didn't I say this? Will Helt led everybody with 7 tackles. Antonio Stevens back and playing after that rough, awful injury 2 seasons ago, had 7 tackles as well. Let's see, tackles for a loss. Will Helt had 3 of them. He blasted Indiana State's quarterback with an early sack. After that, there wasn't a ton of blitzing, but when Purdue blitzed, they made a difference. One thing that I'd like to see cleaned up is the inability to stop the quarterback from scrambling, because I think they had a couple plays where they just let him get outside. Shouldn't do that. Jeffrey Mabah made 6 tackles, and he really, really looks good. He looks bigger and stronger than he did in the spring. None of this surprised any of you. But let's see. You had, wow. Purdue had. I can't count all of them really quickly, but it looks like about 20 guys had a tackle. Sheeta Sila, I think that's how it's being pronounced. Sheeta Sila had, this is the guy who's my dark horse to be a really big difference maker this year, had 3 tackles. And let's see, anything real noteworthy here? Oh, one thing that's very noteworthy, I would say, is that Dylan Thieneman only had 2 tackles. And this isn't a bad thing, by the way. This is probably a pretty good thing, because it meant everybody else was doing their job, making tackles, keeping guys in front of them. We'll see how this goes again. Notre Dame right now, they're tied 13-13. But in 2 weeks, Purdue will get tested. There's no doubt. Notre Dame's defense looks really good. Notre Dame's offense is sputtering at times. We don't know what that is. You don't know what that's a product of. But anyway, so the special teams look vastly improved. I'm trying to think of something that bothered me. I know there was one play that bothered me. I can't remember it right now. But punting, the Aussie punter, Keelan Crimmins had, he averaged 46.7 yards per punt. Good stuff. Porath kicked. He was 7 for 7 for points after a touchdown. One of them was a little bit longer because of a penalty, because Purdue lined up, did something kind of cute, and got called for a delay of game, and then he still nailed it. Nothing big. Purdue did not kick any field goals, though. Both Thieneman and Andrew Sawinski returned punts. One, if you watch on TV, because I got to see that first quarter again, it's kind of interesting. Thieneman makes a lot of plays. He runs a lot in this defensive set, obviously. But there are plays where it looks like he's just huffing and puffing. His fitness is incredible. It remains incredible. But that might be something that, if you think about the logistics of having your, I don't know what the word is, the free safety, though, in most defenses, running that far and then returning punts, that's asking a lot of a guy. We all know that, but you do want the ball in his hands. And at times he looked like he could make that first guy miss. There's no surprise there. But with fresher legs, some other things might be possible. Who knows? Maybe we'll see CJ Smith back there when he comes back from that hammy injury. So, but good day overall. And let's see, a couple of you guys are here. I appreciate it. Ryan Michael Anthony Harrington says, felt so good to be back in Ross-A. Looking forward to the rest of the season. Agreed. Great atmosphere. Again, Purdue fans continue to show a lot. To play Indiana State, and it's 90 whatever degrees it was, and everybody, I mean, the place is full. I think it was one of the biggest crowds since, was it 2008? One of the biggest opening day crowds since 2008. Really impressive. Purdue fans looked good. They sounded good. Everybody was into the game until fans started clearing out a little bit early, because it was punishingly hot. Especially we were on the sunny side of the field, and it was hot. John Younger says the expected powerhouses of the conference look like doo-doo right now, and that's a good point. And we're all rooting for them to look poorly. But Michigan had I think a pick 6 late. They beat Fresno State, a new look Fresno State without Tedford. Tedford retired, I think, because of health reasons. But I think that's dealing a lot. That's that's a new Fresno State team. Michigan struggled a bit with them, and we saw what happened with Wisconsin. It's good to see. It's good to see some of these teams struggling. I think there's others that struggled. I don't know about the scores in front of me, but Eric Brickley says, Boiler up, beat down. Defense looks a lot faster and bigger. Who do you think the starting DBs will be against Notre Dame? So I think you're going to see, I think Breedlove will be at corner. I think Green will be at corner. And, of course, Thieneman will be back there. I liked what I saw. Terry Grant, again, I don't think he'll start versus Notre Dame. I think Green will come in and start for him. But he's going to play. I don't think this is like some sort of novelty bit. Like I kind of theorized that this is really smart football by the coaching staff to say, okay, let's let these guys rest a little bit longer, get them fresh from Notre Dame, and get some freshmen, some young guys, some playing time against a team that, let's be honest, Purdue's offense is playing against a better defense in practice and vice versa. I hope we see a lot of that this season. It's not as easy to tune up a team like Purdue did today as we might think, especially when a lot of the momentum was taken by officiating in the third quarter, if I'm remembering correctly. And Purdue kind of fought it off and then came back and did it a different way. I am super impressed with the fact you had so many different guys executed. Another thing that I think needs to be cleaned up a little bit, I'm going to look at this one more time, is Purdue tight end Bieber. I don't know how to pronounce it. Struggled a little bit. I think that's who it was. Yeah, Drew Bieber. I think he dropped 2 balls and had a fumble as well. I don't mean to, I'm not calling the guy out and saying this is the end of the world, but if we're gonna get critical, which I think it's okay to get a little bit critical, even after a thrashing like that, there's some things to clean up. Still, there's no doubt. So, Jack Leonard 22 says, Did you know Shout wasn't a new song when your dad was at Purdue? It was released in 1959. Thank you, Jay. I didn't see Shout. This is wild. I missed it again. Crazy, huh, Joe? I always seem to miss it. It hurts my feelings every time when I miss it. But yeah, I missed it again. Shout remains awful. I'd like it to be fired into a volcano. Boilerman says Card recorded 24 of 25 completions. Nice today. And yeah, let's see. I think I'm going to double check on the other one. Was Ryan Brown completed 60 yards passing, and then he added 10 yards rushing. Pretty fun. I told you that I got to hang out with he and some other families of some other family members of Purdue football players today, before and after the game. That was kind of neat. But yeah, Brown's a pretty down to earth guy. Sounds like he's a fun guy to be around, and yeah, he didn't look like he was too beaten up after the game. I can say that. Kevin Albuquerque says a victory. Yes, a victory. It's a hard thing. This is a really tough thing. There's good and bad, obviously, about playing a team that is not the best competition the first game. The good to me is this is it's more than a glorified dress rehearsal, because it feels great to all the fans and all the players to be out there, to be in it, and when guys really want to make a statement. We've seen Indiana State play Purdue tough in the past. Obviously, I always think about that Indiana State team that took Purdue pretty much to the limit. They had a running back that could kick Purdue's ass when Hazel was coaching, and then Ricardo Allen sealed the game, and they were driving. I think they could have won with the score, if I remember correctly. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. There's other teams that were tested a little bit more by lower divisional foes. But Purdue just was absolutely in command, and that's awesome. It's a win. It counts. Like Jay said, every win's beautiful. Every win counts. Boyle Mannigan says, Mock runs like he's always doing a rope drill. Exactly. He gets his feet out of the way of himself and out of the way of everybody else. It's such an unusual gait, and the way he makes turns is incredible. And that's a very good analogy. I appreciate that. Motor City Boiler says first time back in Ross 8 since 2007. It was a good one. That's great. I think you said you told me on Twitter what you were in, what section you were in. We weren't too far apart from each other, I think. Oh, it was over in, tell me if I'm wrong. You can tell me if I'm wrong or right. 123. That's what I remember. So hopefully I'm right there. Toby Sturgill says, I'm in the bands at Purdue and love hopping on shows to catch what I may have missed. Thanks for being here. I had some good interaction with Purdue students here, Toby, and I'm in the bands. Yeah. So currently in the bands. That's great. And I would love to see more Boilers that are on campus tuning in here. I think I can tell you when I was on campus, I know you have more to do, but my son was going to watch a bunch of football like I am, probably on this quad screen, which is a blessing from God. I love the quad screen. But yeah, I like soaking up as much as I can after a big game, any game, and I hope you do too. Thanks for being here, Toby. Appreciate it. Boilerman says team entry this year was definitely upgraded and was great. Yeah, one thing that was cool, good, thank you for bringing that up, was the swagger that Coach Walters has, especially as he's leading the way on. It's pretty awesome. The dude, Jay talked about this the other night, but Walters has a presence about him. And I love the fact the team is like almost on top of him. They're almost enveloping him, right? He's kind of walking down that tunnel like he wants to play. And I think he misses it. But great to see them enter the way they did. If you notice subtle differences to the Tiller tunnel. Last year, I think they did a vinyl wrap that looked like it was, this is what I guess, that looked like it was iron exposed. And this year, it's painted black. It is so clean in there. It looks great. Again, I like the way it looked last year. The stadium looks upgraded again. I think these minor steps, there's another improvement to like the 4-stage improvement of Ross-Ade that is going to happen this next offseason. It's much smaller than the last one, which was major. And it's still, if you get to Ross-Ade, first time in 2007, since 2007, it's noteworthy how great the stadium looks, especially with that student section and those patios or whatever on the corners. It's a much better feel. It's a fun time to be there. Motor City Boy says the rail tie spike in the locker room looks like cool new tradition. Yeah, and I saw the picture of that, of HUD hitting the rail or hitting the spike with the sledgehammer, the gold sledgehammer. I was like, man, that takes some skill. I mean, I don't know. I'm okay swinging a hammer. I've made things. I fixed things. I'm okay swinging a sledgehammer. I'm okay swinging an axe. And these guys are bigger and stronger than me, obviously. But there's some pressure there of hitting that spike with that sledgehammer. But that's really cool. If you didn't see it, there's some pictures floating around of after the game in the locker room. There's a railroad tie sitting in the middle of the locker room floor with a spike that started, and then I think the player of the game probably gets a chance to hit it with the hammer. It's pretty awesome. And good bringing that up. Yeah, Motor City Boiler says he was in 123. Good, my memory works. And he also says first time ever on that side of the stadium. Very weird to me, but it's a nice spot, especially with that sun. Yeah, you got a little bit of reprieve. The shadow is good, and like I talked to my buddy Chad, who great talking to him, great seeing him. There's some advantages and disadvantages of the shady side of the stadium. Obviously, a big one is that games like this, it cools off a lot quicker for you guys. I mean, we were roasting on the other side of the stadium, but the bad thing is when it starts getting cool, you want that little bit of extra sun for as long as you can. So I don't know if I'd trade it, but the first game of the year, this is how it should be, right? It should be deathly hot and punishing, and you feel like you're just hurting by the sun, and I had definitely that. But stayed hydrated. I think many people, look like I didn't see many people having too rough of a day, but before the day even began, there was a poor young lad that looked like he was taking a nap before the game even started, right outside our entry to the stadium. So John Younger also is in 123. He says, yo, I'm in 123. Shoopafly says, boy up from Oregon crew. Yeah, thank you. I don't know if you want your name released, but thanks for tuning in, man. I hope everybody's good back there. And I don't know what I'm allowed to say right now, or I should say. You and I need to talk, but what I will say right now is something from basketball season. Many of you guys tuned in during basketball season. My pal Ken is really fighting hard now in Oregon, and I'm keep him in your prayers. Keep the whole family in your prayers. And yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for being here, Shoopafly. I don't know what I'm allowed to say, what I'm not allowed to say about your name, so I'm not going to step on your toes there, brother. Motor City Boiler says these were just StubHub tickets. Not sure we can get back with all the kids' sports going on. This weekend finally worked out for us. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. We go through these phases in life, and I think I'm just leaving that phase where kids' sports every Saturday, every weekend are just dominant. Jay is in that phase right now. And Jay is going to be in it for a little while. He's got a son that's even younger than what's he call him, Lil Money or Young Money. And by the way, Lil Money is not little anymore. Looks like he's over 6 feet tall. Jay could tell us. But yeah, he's got a long way to go. Jay does. He's going to be in that phase for a little bit. So love that phase. Love my kids playing sports and Little League and all that. But kind of nice to be able to go to the game and not have to worry about coaching for a Saturday or two or 6 this fall. Jack1122 said, "Did you skip over my shout comment?" No, I didn't. And you can go back and watch that. I don't know what you were doing. I don't know if you took a nap or what you're doing, Jay, but I didn't skip over it. You can ask your friends here in the comment section. Ed Albany is the king of the gummy bear industry. Says, so any Indy predictions? Yes, I have predictions in Indy. I don't know if their struggles offensively change anything. I still think it's going to be tough. I hope this would be so. Everybody's been talking about this. Jay talked about this in the Handsome Hour. I think Anish did as well. That what's needed next is Walters needs to make a signature win. The earlier, the better for Purdue. That if you can get a signature win the second game of the season, I think it sets a pretty damn good tone for the season, gets everybody ready. I think Purdue is going to lose a close one in that 3:30 kickoff game in 2 weeks. So you've got the bye week next week, and then you've got then you welcome Notre Dame to Ross-Ade. Looks like Notre Dame just scored, puts them up against Texas A&M. So I think Notre Dame's really, really good. I do not think this Indiana State game indicates much about talent and strength, and but I mean, like, of the opponent, it's tough to gauge anything when you play a team that's that overmanned, outmatched, whatever you want to say. Notre Dame's good. They've got tons of blue chips all over the field. Texas A&M's trying to retool. New coach, got a ton of talent. They bought a ton of talent, as we know too well here at Purdue. And yeah, Superfly says, Ken and I caught some replay today. Thanks for the prayers, Boiler D. Yeah, okay, thanks. I got to tell you, yeah, Ken is, yeah, you guys are constantly in my thoughts and prayers, brother. So constantly. And yeah. Yep, constantly my prayers. So I need to give Ken a call. John Younger says, Indy has looked far more impressive tonight than Oregon. Yeah, Oregon is really sputtering right now versus Hawaii. Is it Hawaii? No, I'm wrong. I'm wrong about that. Hawaii's playing UCLA, another team that's sputtering. That's 13-13 in the islands, or from the islands. And I don't know if you know this, UCLA is from LA. Yeah, so there's some teams that are struggling. I was watching the Oregon game before I turned this on, and they're not creating much space. So let's see. Motor City Boiler says, oh, that's to Ed. Mark Garrity says, Purdue looks solid today. Yeah, I think that's the best way you can do it. Purdue looks solid. I mean, I'll keep saying this. The things that I like most about the game were probably, obviously, Hudson Card's command, the sheer amount of people getting involved in the offense, the amount of tacklers doing their job on defense. Purdue was gang tackling all day. That was impressive. Again, the thing that I think, if there's a big thing, there's a couple things you can work on. A couple guys dropped a couple balls. I mentioned that a minute ago. But also that containing scrambling quarterbacks is a concern for me. And that could be a scheme that they just weren't willing to show. That could be some guys not being assignment correct. It can be a lot of things. So, but yeah, hey, Superfly, I don't know if you're still on here, but one thing, the days like today remind me of when you used to go to games. We used to go to games together because it was, it was soft pretzel hot out there. And you'll know what that means. So it was hot today. And that's about all I've got. Let's see. I think that's all I've got. Hope you and yours aren't too sunburned if you're on my side of the stadium today. And if you're watching from home, I hope you enjoyed the game. Thanks for tuning in to this late night wrap up. It is now 11:06. God bless you. Hammer down. Talk to you soon. We'll see you.